here with the Booster Ride Brothers. I'm Kelly. What's your name? Jason. Jason. So can you tell us a little bit about the car?
Yeah, we got a 2014 Camaro. Obviously, we got the 6-liter cast iron block, Bullnar crank and rods, diamond pistons, 671 blower with a big and ugly hat on top, running methanol. I would say it makes 3,000 horsepower, but that'd be a lie. It probably makes a good 1,000 horsepower. Enough to do burnouts, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
unfortunately, we had a little mishap last night. So we had a fueling issue with the barrel valve, and unfortunately, in a 40-second run, in your guys' terms, we dumped about 55 liters of fuel in that 45 seconds, which pushed all of our oil out, filled every tank. There's 3 tanks on here. Filled all those, puked it all over the track, and unfortunately, the bearings do not lubricate on methanol. So
no, they don't.
She smoked all the bearings in it. So we're sitting here waiting, seeing if we can get some help with the motor, and we're willing to switch it out.
Yeah. So when did you build the Camaro?
So we started actually 2 years ago, and then long story short, stopped on it. And then when we were invited to come over here from the Downs Motorsports Club, we actually got back on the Camaro and built this. They really wanted to bring my truck over here, but we decided to build the car instead because my truck, I like to keep that back home. So
yeah,
we have several hundred hours in the car. It's been 4-linked. All the sheet metal has been upgraded, obviously, for all the tire damage. It's got a turbo 400 from FTI in it. Yeah, obviously your time is your time, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff. You know, we build our own engines and stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, how many comps have you been to it with it?
Actually, in the States, we went to a competition in New York, and it was our first time out, and we actually used an old blower belt. That shredded all the teeth off, and then we went to Vegas on our way to drop the car off at the port in LA. So we kind of did a small test burn out there that we really didn't want to do because it was all clean. But
yeah.
That's our...
Is that a ratchet shifter I can see?
Yeah, so we got a B&M ratchet shifter in there from Holly Products. And then also from Holly, they own Simpson, so we put the Simpson race seats with the 4-point harness in there as well.
Nice, nice. What else do you know about the car?
Well, hopefully we can get a motor for this just to finish this comp off. We do have a complete built motor when it shows up from the docks. Our next event is going to be Astronauts, which I believe is June 7th.
Yes.
So we'll be down there. We'll fly back home this week, and then we'll come back, and hopefully this time we'll be able to keep something together and in one piece.
Yeah. What size tire do you run in the skids?
I'm honestly not sure. I'd have to ask Andrew Murphin with Muscle Car Tires. We just told him hook us up. Usually it's like a 235, 45, 17.
Yeah.
Beggars can't be choosers sometimes because we just told Andrew to hook us up and give us a good deal. So he's really helping us out. So we appreciate the help from all the people here, to be honest with you. I mean, everybody's been hands on deck to really help us get this thing ironed out as far as swapping motors or anything we need. So we appreciate everybody here with all the support.
Yeah, I can see you got a roll cage in it.
Partial roll cage. We started to put one in there, and honestly, the kit didn't fit as well as we wanted to, so we gave up on the rest of the front. I really needed it for the rear section with the frame all being cut out of it. The sheet metal that ties it together since it is 4-linked in the rear. Rear supports go into the back. How many cups do you bring in? Well, the car can stay here technically forever. So I'd like to come over here 4 or 5 times a year and run it at some of the events. And really next year I'd like to hit summer nats. That would be the ultimate goal. So I don't know if they're going to let us in if we don't have a ticket. I'm sure we can work something out. I've got some connections, but I'd really love to win a ticket and actually do it the legit way versus just being that American that just got into it. So
Are you gonna plan to go to the next Burnouts Masters Bonanza next year?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. We kind of plan one event at a time, to be honest with you. Like I said, next we know we're going to go to Brasher Nats. That's the only one we really have confirmed. And then I do believe High Octane has another event in September or something down
Yeah,
in
another
Sydney
Friday.
as well.
Sydney. Yeah, I think
So.
that.
Armageddon or something, I think it is. So.
No, that's Armageddon. No, it's here.
Is it here again?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is even better yet because it's close to where we stay when we come here. So that'd be even better yet.
Yeah. So, how long have you been in Australia, basically?
Honestly, the first time we came over here, we probably spent 10 days here, seeing some of the scenery and stuff, went to a few places. And unfortunately, the car didn't make it for the Downs Motorsports event at Well Camp, which is the club that brought the car over here for us. So it was very unfortunate.
So, I saw you drove Hectic.
Yeah, it was nice enough. He literally said, "You guys can't come all the way across the world and not have anything to drive." So, really cool dude. He handed us the keys to his car. So,
I heard he even said that you didn't best give them in.
he even said that too. I'll say that. So, he's like, "You're putting me to shame, man." So, yeah, no, that's awesome, dude. He said, have a hit in it and just do what you can. He just said keep it out of the wall, and then he goes out and hits the wall. So I didn't feel bad. So
What you plan to do this year?
I'm thinking we're probably going to hit 4 or 5 events this year would be the goal. So, and then same for next year. And honestly, if somebody's interested in the car after 2 years of coming over here, we'll probably sell it here. So. That would be the ultimate goal. Just for a couple years over here, just sell the car. You know, we can at least check that off the bucket list. We had a car in Australia, car out here, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah. What size fuel cell do you go?
What size what?
Fuel cell. What do you got?
Well, your guys' would be like 100 to 110 liters. Basically half a liter drop. So. Yeah, it's very large. We were told that if we come over here and we do power cruise events, that if you're going to be on track or events like this, you need a large fuel cell. So I literally beat the entire trunk out to get the fuel cell in there, just to get the trunk, get it in, and then all the stuff back. So.
So just have a look to see what we got.
No.
We're pretty heavy.
We might have to edit some of this out, guys. Unfortunately, I cut all the wiring out of the car and didn't realize that these newer GM vehicles, or actually any of them, rely on a body control module to control everything. So I had to buy another harness, and we never got the harness put in yet, unfortunately. So.
Wow, that's actually very big.
Gee, yeah, I literally had to pound up the deck lid back here on both sides, and then on the sides over here, and get that thing in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a mission. I'm not gonna lie. I probably spent, and then I had to, get it in there, build a stand underneath of it, and then TIG weld on some tabs so you can be able to bolt it in there, put it back in again, and then basically refresh everything to make it look good. So,
Yeah.
it was a chore.
So, what's the name of the car?
Agent Orange.
Agent Orange.
Yep.
That's a pretty good name.
Yeah. Well, we were gonna call it something different, but I don't know. Last minute change with the painter. We decided we were gonna paint it black, and we just decided that black was too boring. So we ended up switching it to orange last minute. We called him up, and he was literally, when we went to the New York Burnout Comp, the car actually still had masking tape around the windows and stuff, and we drove 17 hours to the event and did burnouts, took it back to him and said, all right, finish painting the car, and by the way, we want to change the color of it. And I think he reluctantly said yes, but we changed it to orange. So
where did you get the idea to build such a car like this?
honestly, it kind of fell into our hands. A local guy had this car, and I think it was a repossession, and we got a really, really good deal on the car that we could not pass it up. So I actually wanted something that was not Australian, but shame on me, I guess, called me stupid, but I didn't realize that the designer of the Camaro was actually from Australia, even though it was made in the USA. So I really didn't avoid an Australian car, to be honest, but it's still cool, left-hand drive. Everybody talks about it, you know, and it's the same deal when the Australians go to the States. Everybody talks about how cool it is having right-hand drive cars, you know. It's just different, so.
Yeah. So, how would you rate the Fridays event?
So far, well, I mean, that little bit I got to participate in it, it was really awesome. So, we've been pretty much on this backside most times, but I've been able to go up there, and it's really cool. We've been to 2 Power Cruise events in the USA, and it's just something different. You know, I understand that you guys don't get to drive these kind of cars on the road in the States. You know, I could, if this was insured, I could hop in this and drive something down the street with a blower on methanol. Not that I would do that, but we can do that stuff. You know, you guys need to have these kind of events over here so your people can get out. And I guess I didn't realize, honestly, it was that strict. You know, nothing sticking out of the bonnet and stuff like that. So it's interesting. It's definitely different.
Very
in fact,
different.
we can ask Jason, how was your ticket in the mail, Jason? Not good.
Well, it wasn't mine. Our oldest brother got a speeding ticket. It was $322.
Yeah, that was like 6 weeks ago, and just got it in the mail. So, little license plate shot, the rental car. So yeah, I know you guys take everything so seriously. So.
You always gotta.
Yeah.
Something always happens when you have a rental car.
Well, we were hoping we wouldn't get caught, but unfortunately, it goes back to you.
Yeah. Oh. Fuck. It's cool to have more Americans come to these events, see what we pretty much get to do every year, see what we get to bring.
Well, this is your guys' thing every weekend almost. I mean,
yeah, basically.
Yeah. It's growing in the States. It's taking off slow, but it's getting there. And, you know, our stuff in the States, I would say, is more a burnout show than a competition,
like,
really.
Burnout rodeo and all that.
Yep. So, I mean, there's some competition to it, you know, aspect of it, but really they're trying to grow the sport, so it's more of a show to the crowd and stuff. Just trying to get people accustomed to the burnouts. You know, over here, you guys have done it for 30 years, 30 plus years, you know.
Yeah.
Where over there, people are, you know, we see this at the gas station on the trailer, and we have an open car trailer, and the first question out of everybody's mouth is what's a run in the quarter mile? We're like, we do burnouts, and they just give you this dumb look, you know. But when we tell them we go to competitions for burnouts and there's potential for, you know, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 cash prizes, then their eyes kind of light up, and you know, I think people are starting to understand more about it. So
yeah. I've seen that Australia is more accustomed to burnouts than America. America is usually quarter mile, eighth mile, all that stuff.
Yep. Yeah, all the drag racing stuff, truck and tractor pulling, you know, that kind of stuff is really huge for us over there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to watch, but also, it's a lot of
and that's what got us into it. You know, we watch what you guys are doing over here, and then Cletus McFarland, I'm sure a lot of people know, started with his burnout competition, and we went there and we got hooked in it. We were actually supposed to have the truck do a drag race, and for some reason we got stupid and decided to do burnouts, and we've been hooked on it ever since.
He kind of turned into a Cletus McFarland with mullet when he did skid in Indianapolis.
Yep, exactly. I don't think they did that car any good either. Yeah, it's been good. It's been fun, that's for sure. This is a whole different atmosphere than what we're used to back home. I mean, it's still burnouts, I get that, but just everybody here has been so humble to us and everything. So, and they are back home too. You know, I mean, everybody's willing to lend a hand, but it's just, you know, burnouts are so huge that I don't know. It's just different, I guess. I don't know how to really explain it.
Yeah. Well,
and he's a bit of a madman behind the wheel. Look at him go!
It's hard to explain, but it's this event. All the events that we get to have in Australia, it's always very fun, and it's fun to see how there's more and more Americans coming to Australia to enjoy these events the way that we try to attend to it.
Yeah. And I think we'll get there as the sport grows over there, the competition continues to grow, and then there'll be a need for proper judging and stuff. And some of the clubs have been really working hard at it. It's just, as you guys know here, burnouts are a judge sport, so it's not black and white. It's not drag racing. It doesn't matter who judges, what the outcome is. There's always going to be somebody that's not happy with it, but
it's a lot. It's cool to see how many more events are starting to start up in the States and all that. Start to watch that and all of that. And most of the people that I've seen start up those burnouts have been to Australia and they've got hooked on the burnouts.
Yeah.
Seen very fast. Like, kind of like you guys. They came here, now you guys are hooked. You watched us, you got hooked on it. Same as Clears. He came to Australia and skied Summernats 33, I'm pretty sure.
Yep, I believe it was.
And he hit the wall and decided, oh, I got a track. Why don't we turn the infield into a burnout pad?
Yep. Yeah, and we've been there every time ever since, and every other event that he has. And then you've also got Burnout Nationals in New York that's spreading out, and Burnout Wars with Zach and Lacey Blair.
Yeah, now you got
Horsepower Rodeo with Weston that they're kicking off this year.
Now you got Pro Burnouts coming to America.
Yep.
Getting their events up there. Power Cruise.
Yeah.
You're going to have the fun of trying to compete against Sicko.
Yeah.
Hold on and One Tough HG.
Yep. Yeah, we
Big
would have had that
cars.
opportunity at Well Camp, but to see how we compared with this, but again, unfortunately didn't make it. But
yeah, it wasn't
we have leaps and bounds to go. I get
Yeah.
that. You know, you guys have several years on us. We're learning. You know, it's just unfortunate what happened here. It was a mistake on our own part, but you know what? Live and learn. We were here. We knew what we needed to check, and unfortunately, adrenaline and everything else got the best of us, and we just sent it, and that's where it got us.
Yeah, I really hope you guys can get a new engine. Hopefully, hopefully either skid tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what we want to do. If we can just get something just to throw in there. We have a smaller blower, or a bigger, I should say, smaller pulley we'll put down on the crank to turn the boost down even more.
Yeah.
Hopefully make it through a burnout or two. I mean, if we want to do some demo skids or something, you know, I'll do whatever. I mean, we traveled a long ways, and, you know, then we can at least pull that extra motor out and put in our good built motor, and we'll be ready for Brashernats.
Yeah. So I've seen the videos of you skidding against Skidmore and Polestar, Baslin and Luxor.
Yep.
How do you think, like, what do you kind of rate their skill at burnouts and all that? Even though, yeah, they've been doing it for a while, what do you think? Do you think they've coped and also adapted to America very well?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I know they're still trying to do kind of the standards that you guys do here, and unfortunately, our crowd wants more stuff to blow up and hit the wall, kind of like a Monster Jam, you know?
Yeah, kind of like NASCAR when they get into big wrecks and hit the walls.
Yeah, they go to Daytona or something to see the massive crash. You know, it's almost what it seems like, but
yeah,
it's really turned around with like wall taps. You know, Cletus was a big person, and you know, getting real close to the wall and you know, hitting the wall barriers, and now it's really back down to a small tap is okay. Barrier contact, you know, moving is DQ, backing up's DQ. So, yeah, I think the guys have really come over here, been accustomed to burnouts. They've done well, and yeah, I mean, they've been killing it, to be honest with you. So,
yeah. Well, I actually hope you have fun at Brashernats too, because that's a big event.
Yeah,
that's gonna have a lot of big cars there.
We hear there's a lot of big hitters there, but
yeah.
I mean, I always want to say first thing is you always want to have fun at a burnout competition.
Yeah,
Any event
always.
you go to. Second thing is you want to win. I'm sorry, but I know some people say they're just there to have a good time. That's number one on the list. Have a good time. Second thing is
win.
You're there for competition, man. I mean, who doesn't want to go home with a win? You know, money and a trophy or whatever. Yeah, that's the ultimate goal is to win. I mean, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, kind of the same like NASCAR and drag racing in the States. You want to have fun, but also you want to win.
Yes, exactly. I mean, if you're not having fun, there's no point in going. So, like I say, the fun part has to be there, and you know, having good people there in the environment has to be good as well. And everywhere we've been, that's all been there. It's just we need to do our part and step our game up, I guess we can say.
Yeah. What do you think of all these? Sometimes there's a lot of weird combinations here, but they're still pretty cool.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, we don't see a lot. I mean, there's a lot of blower LS motors back home and basically a couple big block Chevys. And the rest of them are kind of just junkyard builds, unfortunately. But I don't know. I mean, the stuff here is really cool. I mean, we went the short route on our motor just to keep everything down. But back home, we've got tunnel rim intakes with blowers on top of it. And we've seen all that stuff over here, and that's kind of where we got the idea of it,
Yeah. Did you watch the cars for the wedding come down the pit lane?
I did not. No, we missed it. I did not.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I heard him announce it and everything, and I seen him pulling down back into the garage and stuff. But yeah, it was good.
What do you think of all three of those cars?
Oh, they're awesome. I love them. We actually need to get around here. We were just talking about that too. We want to get around and actually look at everybody's stuff and take some time away from the booth here and just get out and enjoy what's going on here. So
yeah, it's hard to be angry, but also very easy to have fun. And also, people sometimes get that upset they'll ruin the event for people. And I've seen that a lot of our events are trying to push that away because they want people to have the time they want. They want them to have fun. They want them to actually come out. Because the reasons we have these events is because we have a thing called booning in Australia, and it's where you do burnouts on the street, you do drifting and all that. These events are starting to try to lower those amounts of people because there's a lot of people that die and all that stuff in those events. And I'm happy that's happening because a lot of people, yeah, it's just cool to see it. It's cool to see people have fun, and it's annoying when people try to ruin that for you.
yeah. No, don't get me wrong. We have the same thing back home, honestly. And there's a lot of clubs trying to do even drag racing to try and put the drag racing back to the drag strip, you know. They kind of went to the far extreme of NHRA and just big classes and stuff, and all the small stuff kind of just went to the streets, you know. I mean, there's a lot of videos on YouTube of racing down the freeways and everything
like
else.
Street Outlaws and all that stuff. I like how they went from racing on the streets to actually racing on actual prepped or no prepped surfaces like drag racing.
And I don't know what that was behind that. You know, a lot of it was probably, it really wasn't good influential stuff for people. Even though, if you actually looked at the show, you know it was a production show. And there was safety, you know, and it was a shutdown street. They made it, I mean, they were on the street, don't get me wrong, but it really was a production deal. In the very, very beginning, I think it probably really was just somebody shooting it on their cell phone. And it's not a good influential thing to be putting on the web.
Yeah, I remember growing up, and I was at home, very young. My dad watched Street Outlaws on the TV because he only watched Street Outlaws and all that stuff. And I remember the races and all that. I remember all the crashes they had, like the rollovers and all that. The rollovers are only just becoming really big on the internet, which is surprising because how old they are.
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of old clips.
Yeah, a lot of people are just getting into that kind of stuff, are realizing, oh crap, this just happened, and then they go to people that have watched it a lot, and then they go, no, that happened years ago. They're like, oh, but that just came on the internet. Don't believe everything you get on the internet, because there's a lot of fake stuff.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Well, it's cool to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Subscribe to these boys on YouTube. It's Boosted Rides on YouTube. And well, I hope you guys have fun on the entire weekend. Hopefully you get an engine in.
Yeah, we'll enjoy it either way, but if we have an engine, it'll be even more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, people. He's crossed the line. He's crossed the line.